Hello, brothers and sisters of the grind. This is Ben Rice coming to you with my first in a long time Q&A video. Since my channel's been getting a lot bigger, I've been having a harder and harder time keeping up with all the questions and the comment sections on the videos, and so I'm going to try to do this occasionally. And the way I'm going to start off with this one is I'm just going to be reading the questions straight off my Facebook athlete page when I posted the link to say ask your questions here, and I'm going to do as many as I can in 10 minutes, and then I'll stop there and continue the next time. So first question, Randall Butterworth, do you even lift? Way to start it off, Randall. Occasionally, I try my best. Second question, okay, same guy, but seriously, how do the people in your gym look, talk, and treat you? At first, I get a lot of people that just kind of stop and stare. Honestly, whenever I go heavy on anything, I think that the weirdness of someone who's not super big lifting the weights that I'm lifting has a tendency to just make people feel uncomfortable. A lot of the times people come up and ask me questions, and after they get through the initial fear and find out that I'm a pretty nice guy, they don't seem to have a problem coming and approaching me. Generally, my friends and everyone knows that if I'm in an intense mood or in the middle of a workout, that they don't bug me when I'm in the middle of something. But I'm pretty approachable, I like to think, so that's how that goes. John Woo, what elbow sleeves do you use? I don't actually use elbow sleeves. I use the Ray-Ban knee sleeves for when I'm squatting, and I used to have one Ray-Ban elbow sleeve that a strongman friend of mine lent me that I used for a couple of workouts, but I generally don't use them ever. Same person, different question. Do you cycle off Shaco? I'm currently not even running an official Shaco template. I am a big fan of Russian high volume training, Smolov, Shaco. That's how I base my training, because I like volume, I like frequency, and actual loading itself is not as important to me. I like to train the lifts, I like to train my bench as often as possible, my squat as often as possible, and so I use those, but I do not run a whole lot of strictly Shaco style workouts anymore. Alex P. Hoker, I'm sorry if I mess your guys' names up, I apologize for it. Is there anything specific that you feel really helped you build up your squat? Squatting often. Frequency for me has been the biggest thing. I feel like that's still the most effective thing about the Smolov squat cycle, is that you're squatting so much, you get to work on your technique so much, and I oftentimes will get people who tell me that my squat is too much like a good morning and my mechanics are wrong, and I always just encourage those people to look at my earlier videos of how much better it's gotten over time. And so you just need to work the lifts. If you want to get better at something, you practice it. If you want to improve your bench press, you don't work on that by going and riding a recumbent bike. You bench press more, and you fix the areas around it. You find a weakness, you pursue destroying that weakness, and that's how you grow in any aspect in life. Mark James Johnson, opinion on Mike Teixeira's RTS program, i.e. RPE, which is rate of perceived exertion, instead of percentages, fatigue stops, etc. I am a big fan of Mike T, and I would love to get into that style of training. The idea of this regulation style exercise system is that you work each day up to what you're feeling for that day. You establish a max for that day instead of using percentages based off of your actual maxes. And personally, I feel like it's a very effective way to train. I honestly don't feel like I am yet disciplined enough with myself to accept days when I'm not feeling as great. And so, as it currently stands, whenever I have a workout where maybe I'm not feeling so good, instead of backing off as much as I would need to with a program like Mike's, I generally focus more on the loading and try to go heavy. That's still something that I'm working through. I like to stay in a certain range of work weights, and on days when I'm not feeling that, I don't know if I'd have the discipline to stop myself from going back up to those weights. So I'm a big fan of Mike's. I like his program style. I will do it someday. I don't think I'm ready for it yet. Aubrey McClellan, how do you build legs if you can't do Sahara? Don't know. Maybe that was a misprint in squats. Maybe Sahara is supposed to be squats and it was a T9 mistake or something. To answer that question, Uh, leg press, lunges, goblet squats if you can, depending on if it's an injury base. Just do anything I mean, the muscle works. You know, the quadriceps, extend the leg, the hamstrings, pull it back in. And so as long as you're doing that motion, that's how you work your legs. And if you can't squat for some reason, you have to find a way to work around it. I mean, obviously, if you can't squat, powerlifting is not really much of an option, but there's other ways to go about it. And maybe we'll revisit that if we get a retyped question that I actually understand. Andy Rowe, can you tell me about your diet, please? Yes, I can. I am the ultimate example of flexible dieting, and it is not so much if it fits your macros, it's if you can fit it in your stomach. Currently, guys, I am not counting my macros. I try to keep my protein intake high, as in I eat a lot of things that have protein in them, but I'm a college student, and one that doesn't make enough money to buy the groceries that I would like to buy. And I'm kind of restricted by what I have available. So I do drink a lot of milk, I eat a lot of peanut butter, I go through eggs like crazy. Generally grain products like bread and stuff, I keep that as minimal as possible because it really messes with my recovery, and my inflammation in my joints and everything is a lot worse when I'm eating grain products. And so I try to keep that out as much as possible. My roommate's really into fruit. She goes out and buys a lot of fruit, and I steal a lot of her fruit. And dairy products, cheeses, meats when we have them, hamburger meat, chicken, that kind of stuff. And I just eat as much of it as I can, and as much of it as I can afford, essentially. So that's kind of what my diet's like. In a perfect world, I would be tracking my macros because I feel like that's optimal, but I'm not in a position in my life right now where I can do everything as optimally as I'd like to. So that's another step, and I feel like that's going to take my performance even higher when I am capable of getting that all in check. Naeem Rohani, I'm probably butchering these names horribly. If you could go back in time, what is one thing you would have told yourself before you started your training that would have helped you achieve your goals faster? If I could look back on 10-year-old me and say one thing, I would probably say, don't mess with powerlifting gear at all. Do not mess with the squat suits or the deadlift suits or the bench shirts, because what you're going to want to do when you get older is you're going to want to do it raw. And messing with that stuff now is just going to set you back as far as learning the movements with the correct motor patterns for a raw lifter. And I admire and respect geared powerlifters immensely, but that's not what I'm focused on anymore. And it was never something that I really wanted as bad as I would rather just be able to do the lifts without this stuff. And so I hung up my squat suit years ago. I feel like I got kind of pushed into that right away, right out of the bat, and didn't get some of the fundamental things. And so I feel like it took me a few years to kind of get my bearings after I got out of the squat suits and out of the deadlift suits and everything. And I prefer raw lifting, and I feel like I would have liked it better from the start there. Eric Konerich, injuries. What are the worst ones you've suffered, and how have you rehabbed them and or worked around them? I have torn a hamstring, torn a rotator cuff, broken a collarbone, and had some spinal things. None of them were actually related to lifting at all. They were all other sports. The hamstring was soccer, the collarbone was wrestling, the shoulder was football. I just have had other things happen to my body. I rehab them. I have a good relationship with my chiropractor, Dr. Bridgman, and in the past, you take time off, you do the things that you know to do: mobility work, ice, heat, stretch, work with self-massage, see someone like a chiropractor or a specialist in soft tissue to help you break down the scar tissue and get yourself mobile and blood to the area so you can heal it again. And it all comes down to patience. You have to be patient whenever you're dealing with something that is holding you back from reaching your goals. And it takes a lot of practice to be patient. And people don't understand that, but I will say that's probably the biggest thing that leads to success is finding the point where something is important enough to you that it's worth waiting for. So that's all I have time for with this first thing. I'm Was thinking about doing some editing, putting some subtitles, but I'm just going to keep running through these and keep posting up videos for you guys. So I will talk to you in part 2. Thanks again. Bye.